Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Purnamashi, for giving introduction of me with kind words. And I wish you all Happy New Year 2021. I express my heartfelt greetings and good wishes from this spiritual center, Adyar, for the success of this study class, which starts in this new year on the book The Key to Theosophy by H.P. BLAVATSKY. This is the book of question and answers that clarifies all the doubts of an aspirant, and that is clarified by the one who is the perfect and teacher of Theosophy, that is HPB, the founder of the Theosophical Society and real teacher of all. Sincerely, I thanks to Pradeep Mahapatra for his technical assistant and also conducting, hosting these Google Meet and Zoom meetings. No doubt his efforts bring all the brothers together at this pandemic situation. Many, many thanks, Pradeep. Thank you. I also thanks to all of you, Utkal Theosophical Federation members, and all who have connected to this virtual meeting and encouraging me, giving me an opportunity to be with you and sharing my understanding of the golden stairs. I hope I am clear now. Are you able to listen, everybody?
Sir, camera.
Yes, sir.
Your camera
Yes, sir.
off कर दीजिए.
Yes, sir.
Can I begin with this talk now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You know, the golden stair, which HPB gave us in 1888 to the group of determined or determined men and women who wish to treat the spiritual path, the path of return, the path of evolution, the way to shift unfoldment. And she asked us to behold this truth before you. So these golden stairs are very important to remind again and again when we study Theosophy. It is because he asked to make the Theosophy the divine wisdom, a living power in your life. And in that sense, these golden stairs are having 13 steps. And we must be clear that 13 steps can be divided into 3 groups. First 4 steps, they are purifying and preparing the aspirant. And when he comes to the 5th step, he gets the clear vision. Then the next 4 steps actually gives him training, it gives an opportunity for self-examination through trials and tests in his life. And the last 4 steps, they are this is pointing towards the action. This ask to act and do it now is the message. It tells don't postpone for next life. Start exploring your hidden potentials. So with this brief introduction of this gift of H.P. Blavatsky as golden stairs to the aspirants, let us take one by one slowly, one by one step and try to understand together, of course. the first step is clean life, and we must also remember the statement that first step is the last step, which also means we must take this step, clean life, seriously and honestly and attain harmony within and without. It is essential to treat the spiritual path. HPB said, "Let it be your pledge and make theosophy a living power in life." Martin Luther King also said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't know. See the whole staircase." This indicates that HPB's attempt to bring like-minded people, like-hearted people together and who have faith in treading the path, who have a determined mind in treading the path. And for them it is very important to this first step, clean life itself will the last step, because it leads to the last step, having a constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection. Without this, you can't treat the spiritual path. So if we live the life, we come to wisdom. That is what the HPB states. Human, social and global mind is definitely developing in this fifth root race, and therefore man must become social and also develop democratic attitude. We must prepare ourselves to be fit in the human group first and work with the team spirit. So once team spirit make him to live in the group affectionately, brotherly, that is to be like the nucleus of the universal brotherhood. So it is essential to understand that human beings can progress and become perfect only when they come together as first step, then when learn to live together, and that makes him to progress on the path. And the third, when they work together by a team spirit, by brotherly spirit, affectionately, then they become perfect. So the last step of golden stair is constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection. So in this sense, I mean, first step, clean life, is that step helpful up to the last step. HPB also said, the learner may climb to the temple of divine wisdom. So learning mind is essential to be clean physically, emotionally, mentally, and this learning mind opens its watchful eye and accepts his own condition in life. And the second point that is to be remembered on the path is working in the group. You know, that brings all hidden things in our subconscious to the surface. And therefore, one of the masters clearly said, try to live in group and see how you can fit into that group. Truth is won not by belief, but through discipline of non-separative living. These are the words of Master. So the 5 steps of Shankaracharya also points towards this living in group, that I repeat in Sanskrit, Sat Sangatve Nisangatve, Sat Sangatve Nisangatvam, Nisangatve Nirmohotman, Nirmohotvam Tve Nischala Tattvam, and Nischal Tattvam leads to Jivan Mukti. So these are the steps told us to the humanity again and again by many men and women, wise people, and trying to enlighten us. So, we must prepare our mind to learn. Learning mind should always have the thought of unity as the background force behind our mind, so that thought will get the right direction, and therefore that leads to understand rather than misunderstand. See, most of the time we misunderstand. So if we don't misunderstand, then that will take us to the enlightenment of understanding. So the first principle of life is clean life, is not to think and feel evil of any being. Otherwise, our own thoughts pollutes our life. And if you change our thoughts, naturally we change our mind, and therefore we can change our life and achieve our destiny. I think it is only this clean life step makes us aware of the fact that the problems or faults that we see in others in group, or we see in our own problems, we realize that these are our own problems. It is by living in group we can realize easily and try to adjust ourselves. More than adjustment, understanding and not misunderstanding is very important. Perhaps because of this, Lord Buddha advised, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. That shows the importance of Satsanga. So group consciousness definitely helps to uplift the whole group. It is therefore HPB called upon to form the group of like-minded and like-hearted people together, so that the group consciousness can be able to tune with the divine consciousness and uplift the whole humanity. That is how the masters of the wisdom, they have a constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection, and they are working. We must be helpful to them in the sense we must tune with that evolving force. It is also essential to remember that ideal of brotherhood in group soon may become a sentimentality. That is human error. We speak about brotherhood, but again we become sentimental, but with frame of brotherliness. And this sentimentality makes one not clean but unclean, and strengthens selfishness rather than unselfishness. This is where we have to be very careful. So, self-examination, self-observation, self-dialogue, and dispassionate introspection, all these help not to do comparison or not to compare with anyone, but to accept the differences gladly and affectionately. So, no competition, but cooperation. Affection is another name of sensitivity. That is what Krishnamurti said. And it is not sentimentality. It is also said, affection brings one to the feet of the master. It is also said, accepted disciple resides in the east. Why they have given the direction? The accepted disciple resides in the east. The meaning of east is our frontal lobe in the brain, cerebral hemisphere has got many receptive powers. The frontal lobe is the location where the values are situated. So this frontal lobe, which is the location of human values like kindness, love, compassion and affection. So it is said, accepted disciple resides in the East means he works through this frontal lobe. Perhaps because HPB and Colonel Alcott's, our founders, who accepted this first step, clean life, and they agreed to accept the 5 precepts of Buddha that helps to lead such kind of clean life. That means we know all those 5 precepts of Buddha. Just for past reference sake, I repeat here, not to kill means to develop reverence for all life. Not to steal means to develop generosity. Not to lie means to develop truthfulness. Not to do any sexual misconduct means to develop contentment. And not to take any intoxicant means to develop attentive awareness, to be sensitive. So clean life has all these qualities of harmlessness, generosity, truthfulness, contentment, and live with awareness and attentiveness. It is therefore both our founders, H.S. Alcott and HPB, accepted this teaching of Buddha, these 5 precepts. They are levels of consciousness, but not in awareness. So, but cycles of awareness, as we become pure and pure, clean life becomes more and more visible in our life. So with awareness and attentiveness, it is always better ask questions to ourselves to lead this clean life. This is after all practical step I am would like to tell you now, that oneself must ask to himself, am I free from faults? To become clean, ask yourself, am I free from faults? Do I make excuses for what I do? Am I ever cruel or careless? Do I take more than my due? Do I find excuses for myself while blaming others? As a practical step for self-preparation and self-purification, one should spend some time for such introspection daily. With this attitude, which we have now blaming others, then naturally get replaced by true understanding of oneself, and our worldliness begins to reduce day by day. In other words, to be clean means to be free from worries and anger, to be virtuous, decent, and do right action. All these include in clean life. And you know, anger is like a forest blaze. All forest fires start with a small spark. And if you catch it quickly, it is easily can be put out. So through clean life, every kind word, every thought or deed, the demon or Mara of anger grows smaller and smaller. He becomes less ugly, less smelly, and less offensive. So there is Mara of all this that comes through the anger. Anger is more harm to container in which it is kept rather than on which it is poured. So to be free from anger and fear also the aspects of clean life. Friends, friends are our complementary, so they are definitely helpful. But don't consider enemies who are our competitors are not helpful. They are really helpful for our progress. So if we develop strength in us, like tolerance and equal to that of not only to the friend but to the enemy, then naturally enmity ends. Otherwise we fight and get polluted. So clean life, in short, is ethical living, having good conduct, and all that includes. When we come to this, after clean life, our mind becomes broad, that is open mind. So clean life is a balanced life, orderly life, and therefore it leads to the broad vision. We begin to see more and more clear as we lead more and more clean physically, emotionally, and mentally, so that naturally, without any effort, leads to open mind. Open mind is that mind which knows its limitations and also knows its possibilities. So such mind is capable of taking all the sensations coming from the sense organs directly to the perceptive centers of the brain without modifying them through our images or opinions, etc. Such a mind is therefore open and active, helps for uplifting aspirant to that state of spiritual realm where he becomes one with the what we call kingdom of happiness. It is only with this openness of mind one realizes the fact that his own character is but the effect of his thoughts and beliefs that are produced by the mind factory, both as positive and negative thoughts. He then naturally begins to change his thoughts and also giving right direction to his thought with this broad-mindedness. So to achieve such broad mind vision or to achieve this next step, open mind, we do have mantra in Bharat Samaj Puja where we invoke force of devas. I am giving this because it is not easy to tame the mind. It is not easy to make our mind open. It is conditioned. The whole human mind is conditioned million years of living. So it is not so easy. We need some outward energy definitely. For that purpose we invoke the higher forces who are there to help us. It is said in theosophical literature, Deva kingdom is always helping to humanity. Not only the masters of the wisdom, but the whole Deva kingdom is helping to this divine plan of evolution. So in Bharat Samaj Puja, we invoke all Deva kingdoms, saying this mantra, Ena Devaha Pavitrena Atmanam Punate Sada. May that influence of Devas come down and fill me with purity of vision. We call upon Indra for power of proper leadership. We call upon Soma for the feeling of well-being. We call upon Varuna for power of perception. We also call upon Yama for irresistible power to overcome our own karma. And we call upon Agni Deva to giving us a fresh energy. So we call upon all these 5 devas for 5 virtues. So we need a lot of dauntless energy, which we call it as the virya, to control the mind and to see its modification without evaluation. It is not so easy. We need the outer force also. So we should be very devotionally invoke the higher forces. And therefore, in Shat Sampatti also, Sama is the first step as the mental control. Human mind is definitely conditioned mind. We are caught in our own psyche, and with open mind we are asked to look, rather witness how we think, feel and act. Look at your condition openly. There has to be radical change in our psyche, which J. Krishnamurti called it as the inner revolution. Such radical changed mind is in reality a open mind, a free mind, is not attached, is not clinging, not dependent, not has any personal agenda, not possessions, and it is also instructed in the Light and the Path. There is nothing to possess. It is only with such open mind, with its key word of reception, one becomes able to examine honestly, and by this, lesser principles are replaced by larger principles. Personal is replaced by impersonal. Exclusive is replaced by inclusive. And all that one builds new and more enduring foundation in life, and mind becomes open to alternatives. And therefore, when it becomes open for alternatives, it is free from its prejudices. It begins to listen to another's point of view, willing to walk in their shoes, willing to see a different idea with new eye, spiritual eye or wisdom eye, and his intellect becomes sharp and penetrating. And naturally, he begins to look into his heart and its hidden motives. Heart has got hidden motives. This open mind begins, this watchful mind begins to look those hidden motives, and therefore, so naturally, he starts purifying his heart with such open mind. And therefore, pure heart is the another name of the mind. So when we come to the next step, pure heart, Buddha told us, heart is a golden box. You see, golden means purity. Heart is a golden box which is a gift from the nature for all human beings. Heart is not a basket for keeping tension and sadness. It's a place where we can store roses and happiness, peace and harmony, sweet memories, and always such heart can express sense of gratitude, or it can express or say sorry, and oozes love and reverence to all life. These are all qualities of pure heart. So essence of man is the heart that raises him to spiritual height, bhakti, devotion. Mind learns by reading the others. Mind does this, but heart not only reads, but it understands the man by love. Such synchronization of heart and mind is essential, that helps to treat the path of further golden stairs. Even in the Bible it is said, blessed are the pure heart, blessed are the pure heart, for they see God. So pure heart has no enmity, no ambition, no animality, no dominating nature, no attitude of possession, etc. It radiates love not by effort but spontaneously. Master Jalkul clearly said, learn to think from the heart, not from the mind. So open mind and open heart are the gifts to the world. When we think, our thinking becomes inclusive. And for this, one should bring his mind to heart, synchronizing mind and heart. You know, there is a head center within the heart center, like a neurotransmitter knot is found in the cardiac muscles in the heart. And that center has to be activated by meditating in the heart. When we know to function from the heart, then one's speech, action, gestures, all they change, and all that become not only impressive but inspiring for all around. It is such speech that causes unfoldment of consciousness of listeners. You know, listening to J. Krishnamurti, everyone was silently experiencing this fact of unfolding themselves. There is a lot of discipline required to achieve this step of pure heart, says Patanjali, says Narada. All they speak about such kind of bhakti, or in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is said, Ishvara Pranidhanani, surrender to Ishvara. Ishvara is pulsating being within us. He is in our heart. So automatically, what we talk, then we begin to walk. Thought is inclusive, our thought becomes inclusive, and thought also becomes inclusive. This is what helps clean life, open mind and pure heart to the next step. We become more and more eager to know the truth. And there our eager intellect helps. Eager intellect automatically comes when we become clean physically, emotionally, magnetically. That naturally broadens our outlook and leads to open mind and mental control. And therefore, mind starts to listen the heart feelings, and their force of inspiration, insight, intuitional feeling, all these they begin to experience. This force of eager intellect, which is sharp and penetrating, goes deep into our consciousness. So eager intellect makes mind not only open, but also determinant, learner. So naturally, aspirant at this step of eager intellect searches true knowledge by reading and contemplating, by listening to wise and teachers, by learning lessons from his own pleasure and pain. Such an eager intellect then helps him to see clearly and helps him to discriminate in true sense what is real and unreal, what is right and what is wrong, what is important and what is unimportant, what is useful and what is useless, what is true and the false, and his determinant mind then helps him to drop that which is false. And this eager intellect also helps him to see the desire of his physical body, desires of his desire body and mental body, and he begins to understand them, consider them, and to tackle them skillfully. Here you must remember, a trinity is formed. Trinity of pure heart, open mind, and eager intellect. These three together, they form a trinity. And as I said, clean life is already begun. And this trinity of heart, mind, and eager intellect, then our journey becomes more and more easy towards wisdom, In the sense, with this Trinity, one knows what to do next. And one develops skill how to do it. And he begins to do it now, not to postpone. So all this Trinity helps to proceed further. As it is said, do it now is the message of Theosophy. Don't postpone it. And in this process, this Trinity helps us. We start exploring our hidden potentialities, our skill, our love, our joy, our integrity, all our ability to do things, and we begin to do it now. We don't postpone. So such kind of vision, when it comes with this Trinity, that is called an unveiled spiritual perception. So next step is the unveiled spiritual perception. That is the first group of 4 steps leads to, that is clean life, open mind, pure heart and eager intellect. These 4 things lead to a great vision. That vision is unveiled spiritual perception. It also means insight into the nature of things. Insight dawns only when all the veils drop effortlessly. What are the veils then? They are contents of our consciousness, like memory, knowledge, thought, concept, ideas, experiences, sanskaras. So this unveiled or pure consciousness is a content-free consciousness that leads to sensitive perception. Are we really see the tree as tree? That is what Krishnamurti asks us many times. Are we really see the tree as tree? Or we are seeing the tree through our images of tree? Looking at tree is personal because we look at them with utilitarian mind. We have fixed ideas, fixed opinions, conclusions about the tree, and therefore these ideas come to surface and we look through those colored goggles. But with sensitive perception, that is through content-free consciousness, we don't look at tree, but we begin to look through tree to the whole universe, and we realize the beauty and harmony and order that is expressed in the universe, and we begin to see divinity in all. It is such unveiled spiritual perception that helps one to know his self-made limitations and also begins to count the blessings as well. He realizes the power of his thought, so pledge himself not to think and feel evil of any being. I was telling, if we know the power, rather not only knowing, if we realize the power of our thought, we don't dare to think evil of anybody. Because we know the thought power, how it works, how it affects, then if we really realize this, we stop thinking of evil of anybody. He realizes the fact that whatever talent he has got, it is definitely a God's gift. So he becomes humble. Whatever popularity he has gained, it is definitely given by the whole set of human beings, society. So he becomes grateful to all of them. And he also thinks of his pride, because mind is conditioned, physical body is not so clean, heart sometimes thinks differently. So naturally, this pride comes, but he understands that this pride is self-made. So he becomes careful with eager intellect. Such a sensitivity is also an affection or reverence to all life. He himself realizes man is expression of God and God is reality to man. He begins to see divinity expressed in the form of beauty, harmony and love. Thus he becomes responsible as well as obedient. So the next 4 steps in the golden stairs HPB points, those next 4 stairs in HPB are tests in life. Because life is relationship. And these tests in life, the next steps show, are we brotherly or not? Are we ready to give and receive or not? Are we develop loyal sense of duty to our teacher or not? Are we really obeying, rather willingly, the commands of truth or not? So these all are the steps which are tests in our life. One must examine in his life how he is having relationship with the others in the group. So these 4 steps are a brotherliness to all, a readiness to give and receive advice and instruction, develop loyal sense of duty to the teacher, and willingly obeying to the commands of truth. All these steps are pointing towards human relationship. A brotherliness, let us take the first, the brotherliness for all. Let us ask, are we really brotherly? Yes, we speak about brotherhood, but not ready to live brotherly. It is obvious in our human society. Otherwise, religions would not have destroyed morals. Lawyers would not have destroyed justice. The press would not have destroyed the information. Bankers would not have destroyed the economics. And politicians would not have manipulated the human mind for their own agenda. So, if we see all this, it is better to observe with open mind how the human mind in general in society is working, not only in the nation, but the whole global mind is working in this manner. So, humanity is not yet perfect. But we speak about brotherhood, we have this idea, whole idea, this before you of brotherhood. So it is true that man is kind. Definitely he is God in nature, he is kind, but when they come in group, men are cruel. We are not yet fit to work together and perfectly. So this pandemic has taught us the significance of togetherness, working together with team spirit, with a constant eye, especially on the last step of human progression, perfection involves this brotherliness as foundation. So it is essential to have global concern so that then there will be no wars, no deforestation, no exploitation, no race of armaments, no illiteracy, no unhygienic condition, no pollution, no population problem, no poverty. It is all source of all these challenges which we see outside have got their source in human mind, which is unable to share with the others. When one understands this fact and takes seriously to his heart, then he has to face the next test, that is a readiness to give and receive advice and instruction, because we have something to give. Always everybody has got something to give. He is a unique in this universe. So he has something to give. At the same time, he is needed to receive something also. So this step, ready to give and receive advice and instruction, indicates that we are one another's teachers. So readiness to give and receive advice and instruction, it is a real test of brotherhood. People who give advice or order are generally not ready to receive instructions, and therefore commonly said, boss is always right. Giving advice is the easiest thing, but receiving instructions is the most difficult thing. But in spiritual path, it is essential to both receive and give advice and instruction. Rather, it is a great responsibility to advise. Parents can advise children, but the great responsibility of parenthood need to be inculcated. Likewise, when one receives instructions, he must receive it to the depth of his heart. This is a readiness to receive instructions. This step indicates after receiving, one must be ready to follow, otherwise it is irresponsibility. It is irresponsible to seek instructions. If we are not ready to follow, then it is definitely irresponsible to seek instructions. So to be brief of this seventh step is one should be ready to follow the instructions when one wants to ask for any advice. I am telling this because this is why most of the times the masters remind us and they say they remain silent because they know people ask just for asking sake. They immediately know their intent of asking. The depth of the intent, masters know immediately. They know whether he is sincere, whether he is curious or not. So point that I would like to comment on this step, that one should take this step very seriously. Otherwise, what is the point to advise if they don't follow? People ask about the masters of the wisdom, they ask about the masters' letters, they doubt whether there are masters or not, they doubt whether the letters have come or not. And you know, many would like to receive a pleasant answer. But if advisor said, don't ask, find out yourself. Usually, Krishnamurti was insisting on such self-dialogue, self-discovery. Such a readiness to seek out the truth is essential on the path. So, it is only when we are ready and responsible, then a loyal sense of duty to the teacher naturally develops. Not merely expecting answers from the teacher. So when true teacher advises to find out, then it is our duty, or it is the duty of a disciple to follow and show loyalty to the teacher. Loyalty won't come immediately. It is the law of, we must know that it is the law of teacher and pupil relationship that teaches the lesson of trust and willingness. The loyal sense of duty to the teacher, just look at it. The life of Annie Besant and HPB, how they were related as teacher and pupil, how there was relationship between Annie Besant and J. Krishnamurti. See, Annie Besant accepted Krishnamurti as the teacher. So she sat at the feet of the Krishnamurti, even if she was so senior physically, but she accepted the growth and evolution of the soul of Krishnamurti. So this is how loyal sense of duty is seen in relationship of these great leaders. It is the step that enables the student to transform faster. Who is teacher after all? Teacher is one who knows the truth. Teacher is one who lives the truth. And truth is that I am. Truth is that I am. That exists as I am. Ocean exists as the wave. Although wave appears different, separate from ocean, but it is not true. The wave can't exist independently from the ocean. So this is what a loyal sense of duty to the teacher means. Following the teaching, teacher and teachings are but one, like waves and ocean. Once this link is established, then the teacher is better understood and therefore one follows. Let us remember, teaching is the bridge upon which disciples should walk to the teacher. Teacher knows the disciple, but disciple yet to know fully the teacher. The teacher is also the part of the divine plan of evolution. So when the disciple is ready, the master will come, and when the disciple is perfect, master leaves him. The teacher does his duty, whatever is given by the hierarchies. He is loyal to the commitment, and therefore student grows in right direction. Madam Blavatsky committed to a grand work and fulfilled that work in her life. So this is what willingly one has to fulfill his duty. Then comes the ninth step, a willing obedience to the best of truth, that sets in the step, especially the dictionary meaning of the word behest or command. One needs to be satyanishta, obeying the commands of truth, of course willingly. A person who pursues the truth behind the thing, he willingly accepts it and obediently carry those commands of truth. For instance, once you get the insight and web of life, insights of web of life, you can't even pluck the flower without the reason. On the contrary, willingly you protect the flowering plant and let others enjoy the beauty and fragrance of that flower. All this discipline will not come by rule or order unless one willingly accepts. Man is definitely a free agent, but his free will is very, very limited and very tiny also as compared to the divine will. So be obedient to divine will and willingly help the general evolution following the laws of evolution. Thus, this second group of 4 steps, golden stairs, a brotherliness to all, readiness to give and receive advice and instruction, a loyal sense of duty to the teacher, and now this willing obedience to the best of truth are all our testings, trials in the life of an aspirant. Once we have placed our confidence in and believe that the teacher within us and to be in possession of it, all those human values, then one must be ready to face challenges or trials that come in our life. So the next 4 steps are courageous endurance of personal injustice, a brave declaration of principles, a valiant defense of those who are unjustly attacked, and a constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection. So these are all the tests. When we come to this step, the fourth step, the 10th step is courageous endurance of personal injustice. We must determine our mind. Here, one must be sure that there is no injustice in nature. So nature is always just. So with determined mind, it is important not to feel injustice, because always, and those are how we feel injustice, and we must understand those injustice what we feel by three things. Number one, what we feel injustice, it is the result of our karma, which is balancing. We feel injustice, it is a test of our physical, emotional and mental equanimity. We feel injustice, let us take it that karma which we can work out in this life, Lord Karma has given to us. So with this, as it is said at the feet of the Master, courageously we work out our own karma. Unless you work out your own karma, you are less helpful to the divine plan. Otherwise, if we are irritated and become angry, that anger acts as I said, as acid in our, and it makes more harm to our own body. Then comes even bearing insults, bearing injury is the highest sadhana, says the great saints. Then with determined mind, one must be principle oriented. That means the next step is a brave declaration of principles. It is also a test of our knowledge, our certainty, our convictions. It is also a test of our discrimination and kindness in our life. So one must become gentle and tactful. It is to declare bravely by living the principles, realizing that a simple things we can live these principles of vegetarianism because it is suitable to lead the spiritual path. We stop gossiping because it is dangerous. These are the principles not to gossip. Law of karma is the law of harmony. Law of reincarnation is the law of necessity. Law of unselfishness is basis for evolution. And each man is his own absolute lawgiver. These are all principles. A brave declaration of principle in our life. We can declare these principles with living, having vegetarianism, not gossiping, accepting the law of karma, accepting the law of reincarnation, accepting the unselfishness, and as it is said, each man is his own absolute lawgiver, and the death is passing phenomenon. All these are the principles. All these principles must be bravely declared through one's living. Then comes, once you declare these principles in your life, don't be with yourself only. Extend your hands to help the others. So this extending, helping hands to the others is also instructed in the golden stairs. A valiant defense of those who are unjustly attacked. Lot of inhumanity is seen nowadays in human relationship with children, women, weak section, animals, plants, forests, mines, lot of inhumanity is seen, lot of exploitation is there, lot of human dominance is there, lot of animality is seen at work. So, a disciple or sadhaka must defend such unjust attacks. Again, with discrimination, he must know how to defend tactfully, preparing the public opinion. You can't defend alone. You must try to make a public opinion. And that public opinion is very important. When the public decides, then the change will occur in the society. In many cases, it is very dangerous and leads to loss of occupation, life, liberty. Some people, they individually try to valiant defense, but they must be tactful in adjusting all these who are unjustly attacked. So, time must ripe for social change. As humanity changes, we know how the humanity changes. If humanity changes, civilization after civilization. And now we are facing this change. So one must try to change the public opinion slowly with living, exemplifying ourselves with life. And it is then the last step we must come. And that is, we enter the last step, a constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection, which means it should not be passive observation, but to do something what is in our capacity, making theosophy a living power. It is like developing theosophical attitude in one's life and see to all events in the light of theosophy. It is looking for the glass to be half full rather than half empty. Even by daily sending good thoughts or daily meditating thoughts with good will, we can attune to the plan which is good to all. And you know, once progression and perfection go, they always, progression and perfection, they go hand in hand. We are progressed, but we are progressed in worldly matters. We are yet to progress morally and spiritually. We are still inhuman, imperfect in many aspects. So watchful eye is essential for inward journey, and all steps must become part of one's nature. This is how the golden stairs are very important. They are grouped. 13 steps are there to sum up. Up to these 13 steps, the first 4 steps, they prepare us. Then the 5th step gives the right vision. Then 6, 7, 8, 9 gives us training. And 10, 11, 12, 13 acts, rather it asks to act and learn the lesson, living for the others and not for oneself. I will end my sharing of thoughts on golden stairs with a very small story, and it is African story which teaches us lesson to live for others. It's a game with children. A fruit basket with chocolates were kept near a tree at a distance, and children were told to run towards that basket. One who reaches first get all those fruits and chocolates, and they asked to start the race. Surprisingly, all the children interlocked their hands and ran together and gladly enjoyed sharing each other. Today, in our society, many are yet to awaken to this truth of interdependence, because we have not yet perfectly led the clean life, first step of golden stairs. So to be fit mankind is the first step, says, to benefit mankind is the first step. That is what HPB said. So, to serve humanity, which is our first step in our present mission of the Theosophical Society. With these words, I will end this talk. I am very thankful to all of you for listening this talk, which is a lengthy one, but I am helpless because these are 13 steps and very seriously told by H.P. BLAVATSKY